Welcome. We are starting off strong. We're going to be doing GAM7 on Windows 11. If you're on Windows 10, firstly, possibly think about Windows 11. If you still hate Windows 11 and you're on Windows 10, I can't help you on that one. But jumping in here, let's get started. A couple of things. One, a lot of people have said to us, you know what? I don't want to use Chrome. I want to use Edge. I know. No, there are some people who've said that. Or Firefox or Safari on Mac or whatever you want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sort of like install GAM7 and I'm not going to use Chrome on any of them. What I have done though, is I have logged into, this is Edge, and I have logged into here with my super admin user account. So we're going to be setting this up. My suggestion is open up this wiki so that you can follow along with. This is now, as I've said before in the introduction, this is GAM7. This is not GAM ADV-XD3, and it's not GAM anymore, made by Jay Lee and made by Ross Scruggs. This is a combined version, which means that all the development from both Ross and Jay are going into one pipeline, which means that it's going to be as good as possible, and you don't have to worry about, are we running the advanced one? Are we running the sort of like the less advanced one? So let's jump into this. So it says here, what do you want to do? Downloads, installs, Linux, Mac, OS, Google Cloud Shell, and Windows. So if we're going to go to Windows, which is what we're on, it says we're going to be using this as a super admin shown as admin at domain. Replace it with your actual email address. So what I normally do is I open up here and open up a notepad. The reason for this is that if you're going to copy and paste from the wiki, you can put it in, you can edit it in the notepad and then paste it into your terminal. However you want to work, that is fine. It says here that we assume that GAM7 has already been installed in the C drive GAM7. Now, if you've got GAM ADV-XD3 or GAM and you've got it into a C drive, please make sure that you look at the wiki on upgrading. We're not going to be going into that because we're going to do nice, brand new, clean, and everything from here. It says that it has already been installed. Now, we haven't installed ours. So if we go over here, right back to the top, you've got downloads, installs. And we've got this executable, automatic, and all of this is for Linux, Mac, Google Cloud Shell, Raspberry Pi, Chrome OS. So there's a lot of different places you can install it on. Lots of other things for Mac, for anything in there. If we want to do it on Windows though, we're going to go to the GitHub releases over here and we're going to scroll down and we are looking at 7.18.06 at this moment. Obviously, when you start installing yours will look a little bit different. So we're going to look at the Windows version. I'm going to either do the MSI. If you're on an ARM machine, you could do that. And as it happens, I'm actually on a virtual machine here and it is running ARM. So I'm actually going to run on this one. Okay. Now, this is going to say, do you trust it? I'm going to say see more. And I'm going to say keep. Are you sure you trust it? Keep anyway. Open file. Once again, another layer of protection from Windows saying to you, are you sure? I'm going to go to more info and say run anyway. Now onto the setup wizard. We're going to say next. I accept. Next. And it's going to put it into C drive GAM7. This is the place where you can actually say, I'd like to have it on my D drive. I'd like to have it on a network drive, whatever you want. But for this, we're going to be put into C drive GAM7 for simplicity. Install. Okay, it says it's now finished. So let's push finish. And if you go and look in your C drive, you'll see that there's GAM7 there. And these are the things that are currently inside there. There's the GAM executable, there's a GAM setup, GAM update commands, and everything. Okay. So we've now gone through to the part where it actually says that it's all installed. So let's go back to the place where we all started. In these examples, it's shown a super user, and this is where it's installed. GAM7. If you've done another directory, please make sure that you update it when you start looking at different commands over here. Okay. These steps assume command prompt, also adjust if you're using PowerShell. Okay, so firstly, we're going to do a configuration directory. Now, the nice thing about configuration directory is that if you're going to move it to another computer, you can copy that configuration directory to the new one, and you've got all your configs with you. But we want to actually make it easy for ourselves, so we're going to copy this, and we're going to C drive. And instead of GAM7, we're going to make a new folder here called Gamconfig. Brilliant. Okay. Make sure that there's that before proceeding. Now we're going to set a working directory. Now, the working directory is quite nice because a lot of the people, what they do is they say, we're going to start working in the GAM7 directory or the Gamconfig directory, and they're going to start getting hundreds and thousands of CSV files or hundreds and thousands of pieces of code or whatever it is, and it starts becoming very, very messy. So give yourself a working directory, and that working directory will allow you to then play around with code, snippets, CSVs, whatever it is in that working directory, and you can copy from that to wherever you want. If you need to email from there, that's cool, but everything inside there is a working folder. So it says, let's do Gamwork, so I'm going to copy that, and same thing. There's the Gamwork folder. We are doing very well. Set the system path and GAM configuration directory. Start control panel, system, advanced system settings. Now, if you are on Windows 11, and this is a little bit more challenging, so you can right click over here and you can find control panel here. Sometimes it's not here, depending on what version of Windows 11 you're on. And if you don't have that, we can go straight into control panel here by doing a search and doing it there. If you still can't find control panel, if you do Windows run, you can say control panel there and we'll open up your control panel. If they do take away control panel, we'll have to figure out another way on how to do this. But anyway, so we're going into this and we normally change this to small, or if you're feeling very blind, like I am today, large icons. Okay, so control panel, system, advanced system settings. Just going to push this to the one side. Okay, system and advanced system settings. Okay, now I'm going to click to path under system variables. So here are environment variables, and we've got user variables for Paul here, so that is a user variable, and then under system variables over here we need to add path, or we need to click on path. So there is path, and we're going to say edit. These are the things that are currently defined underneath the path. If C drive GAM7 is already on the path, then you can skip the next 3 steps. Okay, so there it is. If you do need to actually add it, you can say new. You can edit GAM, or you could say edit over here, and you can browse for the new location. So you could say, I'm actually looking under this PC, C drive, GAM7, and then you can push OK, and that will be inside there. Okay, so those are the 2 different ways of doing it. Now we're going to say new, and it's got a variable name. So the variable name is going to be that, which is from over here, and the variable value is from wherever you put your config directory. You can either copy and paste, or you can browse for that directory and go here, C drive, config, OK, and you'll see it is over there. Push OK a bunch of times and close your control panel. At this point, you should restart the command prompt so that you have the updated path in it. Now, if you haven't actually even opened your command prompt, that's cool. But if you have, close your command prompt and open it again. So that will bring you the latest, greatest version of all the paths, all the variables inside your command prompt. Okay, just pushing my command prompt over to the right. And now we're going to start doing a couple of things. We're going to start initializing. So it says here, we are going to take this and we're going to say gamconfig underscore drive or directory is C drive Gamwork and then verify. So let's go into that. And if you have your command prompt set up the way mine is, which is fairly normal, you can right click and it will paste whatever you just copied. Yeah, let's push enter. Brilliant. So what it's done is actually done a couple of things here. And you'll see that there's a config file that's been initiated, and there's a whole bunch of things inside here where it says a config directory's been done, where is a JSON being put, There's a whole lot of things inside here, and you can go through these and actually play with them. You can add other features to it. You can play around with a whole lot of functionality. But for right now, we're sticking it way at the basics. Okay. So if you go and look inside here, we've just created these two files, Gamconfig and Gamwork. So if I go into Gamconfig right now, you'll see there's a whole lot of extra stuff. There's Gam cache and there's Gamconfig, which has got all of this stuff inside. If you really want, you can open up in a text file, or you could just believe me, whichever works for you. Now we need to see whether or not this was a successful installation. Okay. So if we go and we say this, okay, which is dir, and then the percentage gam config dir percentage is that variable that we put into the command at the control panel. So if we go and push on that, it says here, this is pointing to C drive gam config, and it's listing what's actually inside there. So that variable is basically saying, tell me what's this variable has been defined. And we're going to do a dir, a directory listing. So if you go into, I don't know, this folder, for instance, and I'll do a dir, it tells me what's inside this folder, which is C drive users Paul. But if I do a dir and I say I'd like to look in what's in this defined variable folder, then no matter where you start running that dir from or an executable from, it will show you that particular variable folder. Okay, so that's the point of that. Now, we're going to create a project with your local browser. My suggestion is that you open up a browser. Okay, we've got a browser and we are signed into the admin console over here. And because we signed in, when we start running these projects, it should allow us to go in quite easy. If you haven't signed in, it's obviously going to ask you for a username and password. So we're going to say gam create project. And let's say copy. And once again, this is very important. If you are looking to create another client, another project, and connect to another Google Cloud or whatever it is, this is how you would do it. So all the other stuff is basically all stuff that happens locally on your computer and basically get your computer set up. This is now the connection. So once again, gam create project. And it gives you a whole lot of stuff here. It says here, there is no such thing as the gam config file. In the config file, which we've defined before, there's no such thing as the OAuth 2 text, and it's not found over there. And the gam config, there's another one called the OAuth 2 service JSON, and it's also not found here. So now they're saying we can't do anything. So we need to actually say how to do this. So it says, please go to this. So if you right click on this and open it up in the browser, paste that there. This will open up the configured apps for you. And as you can see, I have done this many, many times. And every single time I do another one of these demos, another one of these things come up. And the frustrating thing, just between you and me, just bear with me. You can't delete it. If you tick on this, there's a change access, but there's no deleting. So I can't even sort of like pretend this is the first time I'm doing this. This is the 100th time I'm doing this. And that's why you see so many of these things. But anyway, so it says here, go to this link, click on configure new app and enter the following ID in the search for app. So I'm going to grab that, right click, and I'm going to say configure new app. Search for the app, paste that in and say search. It's now going to say, this is the GAM project creation app. So you can obviously go and view the website here, but I know what I'm doing, so I'm going to click on that. Now, do you want to just do this for a specific OU? You can actually then include just specific OUs inside here. So I want to have just the ones in this OU or just the ones that are under the school. It really is up to you, but I'm going to do it for everyone because if I'm going to set this whole thing up, I'd like to know that I can play around with the permissions for the teachers, the pupils, the whatever. So I'm going to do that, but you do you. Okay, continue. What do you want to give the access to Google data? Do you want to choose an access where it's trusted, it's limited, specific Google data, or blocked? And when I told you earlier that you can actually just change the access, this is one of the things you can do. You can say, I don't want GAM to be working anymore. You can't delete it, but you can say it's blocked. Okay, so I'm going to say it's trusted. And if you look over here, it says here, select that, choose the default scope or preferred scope, so that whatever OU you'd like to do, press continue, select the trusted, and then press continue and finish. So let's say continue, and finally finish. I'm going to do this. Now this you might not have. If you're a normal company and you don't have pupils or students in your organization who are under the age of 18, you won't see this. If you have students in organizations with people under the age of 18, you will see this. So I'm going to say, I understand what I'm doing. I'm going to say confirm. Okay. And you'll see it's now created up there. So if we go down here, it says press enter on the terminal once the trust is complete. So I'm going to push enter. And it says enter your Google Workspace admin or GCP project manager email address authorized to manage the project. So as you can see, this is GAM project P63 or whatever it is, and that is going to be shown just now. So I'm going to grab this particular user and I'm going to say admin at Taming G Suite. Please go away, Copilot. And I'm going to paste that in there. I'm then going to push enter. It's then going to open up this. Now, if you've dealt with Google for long enough, you've seen one of these things before. So this is basically saying the GAM project creation wants to access your Google account. Do you want to? Okay, it'll tell you what it's going to do here. See, edit, configure, and delete your Google Cloud data and see the email address on your Google Cloud account. So I'm going to say perfect, allow. And it says this is completed. Go back to your browser window over here. Now, as you can see here, we went into a particular thing. It also gave you the shortened link over here. Now, this shortened link was exactly the same place I've just been to over there. Now, it says the authentication flow is completed and it's going through all of the different APIs. You will see that there are going to be 38 APIs. Now, depending on when you watch this course, this number might have changed. Google loves to add more APIs all the time, so you might have 42, or they might produce some, I don't know. But basically it's saying, I'm looking at all 38 APIs, okay? Admin, Alert Center, Analytics, Calendars, Chrome Management. So now you might be saying, but we don't deal with Chrome Management. And sometimes later you might see a thing that says reseller. We're not a reseller. Absolutely cool bananas. That's really not a problem. But you now need to say, what do you want to have access to? So it says here, these are all of the things, okay? So we're going to go to this. I'm going to copy that and paste that in there. Earlier, I said to you that we were going to be the person dealing with GAM project something. And you can see at the top over here, it says GAM project and then P63, J8. And that's where we're actually talking about. If you go here, you can see that there are lots and lots of GAM projects, and each one of them has a different unique code. So if you are dealing with a GAM project for one client or one OU, you can sort of like flip between the different GAM projects. But anyway, let's keep it nice and simple. Okay, so it says here, if the create client is on the screen, okay, skip to step 14. If it says get started, then play with this. Okay, so let's push get started. And let's call it the app name. So we're going to call this GAM7. Under the app information, put this into the support email. So let's go here and we've got admin at support and let's say next. It then says under audience, choose internal, click next. Okay, so we're internal, next, contact information, enter an email address and email addresses. So I'm going to say, that's the admin account. If you are in charge of yours, you can say this is yours, but theoretically no one should be emailing you about this because you're the only one dealing with this. Okay, so we're going to push next and then it says I agree. So we're going to go here and click I agree and continue. We're then going to say create. Cool. Now we're going to say click on the clients in the left hand column. So over here we've got clients and we are going to create a client. Under application type, we're going to choose a desktop app. And over here, you'll see we're going to enter another name. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to call this GAM7. Okay, and I'm going to say create. Now, earlier I said, why don't you grab something that you can copy and paste So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the client ID and I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to put this here and I'm going to say client ID. And I'm going to copy the client secret. Okay, please note that I've copied these now because it does say very boldly, well, in yellow, so it's sort of like gently. It says you won't be able to download the client secret once you close this dialog. So if you do this, if you close it and you haven't copied it, you will have to start this whole process again. Well, not the whole process, but the creating the projects again. Okay, so we have a client secret, and so let's push OK. Okay, and as you can see, it is now created an OAuth to client ID. So let's see what else we've got here. So over here, it's saying get the client ID and paste it into the terminal. So let's go here, client ID. Paste it into the terminal, push enter, client secret. And every time I hear client secret, think back to the 90s, where it says, I've got the key, I've got the secret. Okay, I'm going to go in there. And it says, cool. Okay, so now we've got all of this set up. The client secret's there, the client ID there. It's important to mark the GAM client as trusted in the workspace. Okay, so please go to this again. So we went there previously. Which is this one over here. Go into this. And it says configure a new app again. So now we're going to grab all of this. And if you're still here and you're still following along, you're doing very well. We're almost done. Okay, so we're going to say create a new app. Search for the app again. Search. And last time it was a project creation app, and this time it is GAM7. Once again, pick what OU you want to use it in. I'm going to do the whole thing and say continue. Once again, I'm going to say that it's trusted. And then finally, I'm going to say finish. Once again, if you have pupils under the age of 18, you're going to have to get this one and say confirm. And you'll see that that has now created. Okay. So we've created that. We've put that in. We've done the search. We've done the trusted. We've confirmed it. And we're going to push here, enter, once life has been sorted. As you can see, it's now looking at the same project that we were looking at before. It's looking at the service account that's been made, and the service account can actually run in the background. So you don't have to worry about permissions and things like that. And on the service account, all of the stuff is happening and uploading a public certificate to Google and going through all of that. Okay, that's it. Your GAM project is created and ready to use. And you kind of go, what does that mean? Well, there's still the authentication steps. So if you've got to this point, you've now connected it, and we're now going to play around some more. So going back to the instructions, we've done all of this. We've created all of this. We've done all of this. We now need to go over here and say, I'd like to create an OAuth so that I can actually connect to my specific GAM install. So I'm going to do that. OAuth create, and I'm going to push enter. Now, when we spoke about the APIs earlier, we were saying which APIs do you actually want to use? Now, we have the ability to sort of like switch them on and off. Now, we deal with people all the time who say to us, okay, but I'm not getting an error. The URL's too long or whatever it is, and it doesn't work now when I do this. So there is the ability to do all of them, to select all of them by pushing yes, but sometimes that's too long and it's sort of like it doesn't work for everyone. So go through this and actually see what you want to do. You can update this at a later point. You see there's an R over here, so that's talking about cloud identity policies. If you want the email audit API, the pub sub API, the site verification, reseller, if you want any of those, you can obviously select them, but I'm going to just say, I want to continue without. I want to just continue. So I'm going to push C here. Okay, enter your Google admin email address. So I'm going to do the same thing again. And it's now going to get me to the same place again. It's going to say, admin is going to go into here. GAM7 is going to get your admin user and your admin email address. And we're going to say, that's fine, continue. And now all the ones that have the little star next to them are now here. So if you don't have the reseller API enabled, it won't be here. But everything else that you've ticked will be here. So I'm going to say, cool, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to push allow. It says that's all worked. And what you will see here is the OAuth 2 has now been created. So if we go back into this, there is the OAuth 2, there's the client secrets that was made, and the OAuth 2 service JSON has been created. So let's go back here. So we've done all of that. Now, we need to now see if we can actually do things, okay? So we want to now look, okay, so now we're going to actually see if it can actually update some of our users, okay? So we're going to see, so we're going to do the same thing again, and we're going to do admin at taming.gsuite.com. So I'm going to take that and copy that and put that inside here. Okay, once again, I'm going to push C. It's now going to check whether or not I can actually write as that particular person. So you can see here, it checks my date and time and sees that it's less than 1 second away from what Google wants it to be. So that's perfect. And what you can see now is that these certain people, like these, don't actually have access to all of these things. So it's failing. Okay. So now you can see that it's gone through every single one of them. And depending on the speed of your internet, depending on the speed of Google that day, and depending on the speed of your computer, it will take sometimes 30 seconds, sometimes a couple of minutes. So it says it's failed all of these. And it says here there's certain ones that they should never have access. And I've got these 3 that should never have access. And that says passing on those ones. But these other ones that have failed, we now need to actually give permissions to. So we're going to go over here, copy that one, press enter. And what you can see here is what it's actually going to be doing. Under this client ID, it's going to look at all the different scopes, the mail, the OAuth, these are the Google APIs for chat admin. These are for chat messages, for classroom, for whatever. So all of these is what we're actually going to be giving access to. So I'm going to say authorize on that one. And I'm going to say confirm. And what you can see is that GAM7 now has access to all of these scopes. So it's those 2 plus 36 others. So all of those should be good. Now we're going to see if it actually can work again. So it's going to add all of these things. It says that sometimes you have to wait a few moments. I've never had to really wait that long. So we're going to check this now. And we're going to just go up 1. And instead of going to update this time, we are going to check. So we're going to change this. And theoretically, if we did everything properly, everything should pass. Looking good so far. While that's happening, I'm going to scroll down here and we can talk about this. So under the Gamconfig, which I spoke about right at the beginning, there's a whole lot of things that are made when we actually did the verification. What you can do is you can actually put things in here already, like customer ID. And that means that if you put your customer ID, if you're only dealing with one customer, if you're only dealing with yourself, put your customer ID then, and this like makes the API calls faster. Okay? Domain. This allows you to omit the domain portion of email addresses. So sometimes when you're updating, you might say admin at and your domain, or Paul at your domain. If you put the domain in, you don't have to sort of like play around with it. So you can actually go and actually update this with different things, including your time zone. This is almost done and the pass is almost finished. So the last thing we're going to do over here is we're going to do gam info domain and see if this actually works. I know I'm on tenterhooks as well. I'm worried, I'm concerned, but you guys have done well. You guys have done well. Let's do it. Gam info domain. Push enter. And this is what they're talking about. You can actually edit this, and rather than having to have the API request sort of like go, what customer ID, what primary domain, whatever it is, what do you want to do? It says here, this is the primary domain, this is everything, and this is how many users we've got, and here's the customer ID. So let's just do this. There's the Gamconfig. I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to say open with. I'm going to choose Notepad. I'm going to say just once. And if I go down to customer ID here, pasting that in, primary domain, pasting that in, saving this. And let's just test that it hasn't broken this completely, because that's always an option. There we go. And that comes through over there. So that is exactly how we're going to get Windows set up. If you want to sort of like play around with Mac, Linux, jump into the next couple of lessons. If you're watching this on YouTube, down below is a link so that you can actually jump into this course and you can be involved in this course and be part of the community that we're playing with. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next lesson.